You're listening to China Africa Talk.
Jambo, ni Bridget akikuletea kipindi kinachohusiana na China na Afrika.
Vous écoutez le dialogue sino-africain avec Bridget.
Everything China, everything Africa.
Olá, você está ouvindo China Africa Talk com Bridget.
سيداتي وسادتي مرحبا بكم في الحوار الصيني العربي مع بريدجيت.
The fourth China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo takes place from June the 12th to the 15th in Changsha, capital of central China's Hunan Province. With more than 12,000 participants, the expo is one of the most important events in the field of economy and trade between China and Africa this year. Nigeria participates as one of the guest countries of honor at this year's expo. Africa's biggest economy isn't just here to trade, it's here to transform.
Our target is to showcase Nigeria's potentials as a possible manufacturing hub for China.
In a landmark move following the elevation of Nigeria-China ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership last September, Nigeria has launched its very own Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership Office. Its mission? To ensure that Nigeria speaks with one voice when dealing with China, aligning priorities, monitoring collaboration, and unlocking long-term development potential.
China is one of our major partners today. I believe there's a lot of things to tap into.
Nigeria is showcasing value-added products ready for China's evolving markets. Behind it all is a bold ambition to leverage China's technology, industrial scale, and market access to turbocharge Nigeria's reindustrialization drive. So what new opportunities do expos like CAETE present for Nigeria-China trade relations, and how does it help Nigeria navigate economic diversification? I'm Bridget Mutambirwa. I sit down with Dr. Joseph Tegbe, Director General of the newly established Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership, Nigeria's lead strategist for its most important bilateral relationship in the 21st century. Dr. Joseph Tegbe, thank you for joining us today on China Africa Talk.
Thank you. Nice for having me.
Dr. Tegbe, the Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership is newly established to focus exclusively on advancing ties with China. As its Director General, can you tell us the significance of setting up such a mechanism and what role does it play in bilateral ties?
Thank you very much. Bilateral relationship between Nigeria and China dated over 5 decades. Precisely is about 54 years now. And last September in 2024, at the FOCAC 2024, President Xi Jinping and President Ahmed Tinubu met and they decided to raise the relationship between Nigeria and China to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Subsequent to that, Nigeria decided that an office was going to be created to ensure that we have a central body that actually monitors, harmonizes, and sets priorities and align priorities for Nigeria. And that was the purpose this office was set up. So specifically, this office actually monitors, aligns our priorities with China's priorities. More importantly, we were driven by also some of the internal modernization and external modernization that China is doing through the Belt and Road Initiative. So this office actually ensures that we speak with one voice as a country. And most of our requests and most of our requirements are unified through this office.
What is your mission at this year's China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo, the CAETE, and what key goals are you pursuing for Nigeria? We know that Nigeria is one of the guest of honor countries at this event. What are your key goals?
Thank you very much. I think one of the critical things we want to achieve out of this Expo is to explore opportunities for partnership between Nigeria as a country and China, and also Nigerian businesses and Chinese businesses. We see a lot of opportunities evolving over time. We've been focused largely in the past on what we'll call transactional relationship, trading relationship. Our target is to showcase Nigeria's potentials as a possible manufacturing hub for China. And considering all the developments in the economy across the world today, Nigeria positions itself well as the entrance to African markets. And that is what we want to do. We have a couple of products that we've been promoting in the past, but Our emphasis going forward is going to shift from just transactional developmental partnership, and we're going to look for opportunities for our businesses with Chinese businesses. And also, in addition, I think one of the sectors that is important to us is our small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. For developing countries and even other developed countries, the power and the engine of industrialization is typically the SMEs. And we're trying to see how we can use our SMEs to leverage Chinese light manufacturing sector and do some sector mapping and create those opportunities. That's going to be our focus. So identifying those strategic partnership opportunities for our businesses in Nigeria is going to be our major focus.
Nigeria has gained access to the Chinese market for products like peanuts, sesame seeds, soybeans, cashew nuts. How are these exports performing?
They're doing well. First of all, there's been increased relationship between NAQS in Nigeria, which is the agency responsible for quarantine, for ensuring that products are of the quality that destination countries like China actually require. And they've been working with GACC in China to ensure harmonization of the protocols. That took a while, and those products are doing extremely well. But we have potentials to do better than we're doing. And I think the tariff war or the trade war globally is opening our eyes, even in Nigeria, to see the kind of opportunities we have. One of the things we're also doing is to ensure that we have a structured platform to monitor exports out of Nigeria into places like China. So we have opportunities to galvanize some of the things that have been done on a transactional basis and see them being done at a very larger scale. What China needs is one, high quality product to the specs they want in terms of yield per acreage, in terms of quality, and also edibility. What Nigeria is trying to do is scaling up in terms of production, ensuring compliance with those quality requirements. And I believe that we're making progress. So those products you mentioned are actually doing well, but still has opportunities to do better than we're doing. More importantly, for me, I think one of the things we've identified is the trade war. It's an opportunity for us to just fill in some of the gaps that have been created. This is an opportunity for us in Africa, opportunity for us in Nigeria to explore those partnerships better.
What export sectors and products in Nigeria are prioritizing at this year's Expo, and are they value-added products you aim to introduce to the Chinese market?
I know you did mention soybeans, you mentioned cashew nuts before. I think our focus is going to still be on agriculture. There are a couple of products that we need to bring into this market. I told you about soybeans. I can tell you we made a decision as a country to develop about 100,000 hectares of land targeted at soybeans for two purposes. The first is export to China. So we're going to engage Chinese government, GACC, to ensure that the quality of soybeans is what China wants. The second thing is that we're building integrated poultry farms across Nigeria. Now we're leveraging DQY ecological farms in Beijing. DQY ecological farm is one of the largest poultry farms in the world. They produce 2.5 million eggs a day, right in Beijing. So what we're trying to do is go into partnership with China to be able to develop our poultry farms across Nigeria, 6 specifically, that will produce 1 million eggs a day, cumulatively 6 million eggs for Nigeria. So those are the kind of things we want to explore in this Expo. The other things that we think we need to bring to the table, we're looking significantly at automobile. We're in discussion. We believe this Expo also grants us an opportunity to identify strategic partners. We've been talking to a couple of companies, BYD, Hyun, GAC, who want to establish in Nigeria. So there are Nigerian investors and people like me who are interested in those kind of things. But beyond that, Nigeria also wants to demonstrate that we have other capabilities beyond peanuts, cashew nuts, soybeans you mentioned. There are other agri-products that we're looking at. Mining is top on our table. What we have in Nigeria today is a lot of artisanal mining. So we need to shift to commercial. And that's what we're putting on the table. The kind of mineral resources we have in Nigeria. Top on the list is lithium. We have huge deposit of lithium in Nigeria, which is very attractive to the Chinese market. The EV batteries and the rest of them are made out of lithium. Is one of the things we want to showcase. And those are the kind of things I'm going to emphasize. Mechanized farming, opportunities for us. We're going to put mineral resources, EV, lithium, gold, cobalt. We're going to put that on the table. So our discussions are going to go beyond transactional agri-export to developmental relationship in some of the things I've just mentioned.
In light of recent global trade shifts, how do you see new opportunities emerging for Nigeria-China trade relations?
Yeah, I think in the light of current trade and tariff war, for me, like I said, it creates huge opportunity for Nigeria and Africa. We see this as an opportunity for us to turn Nigeria into a manufacturing and industrialization hub for China. And what I do mean with that is the kind of relationship that China has with Mexico, you have with Vietnam, where a lot of products are produced out of there using Chinese technology. That is what we want to explore. Let's use Nigeria as a huge industrialization and manufacturing hub for China. Let's do products developed based on Chinese technology in Africa. And I think the opportunities are there. We believe that there are a couple of products that we're showcasing in this and what we want to do, like manufacturing. CTG is extremely cotton, textile, garment industry sector. Textile is one thing that is very important. Footwear is one of the things we've tried to master in Nigeria. The particular part of Nigeria, the southeastern part of Nigeria, Anambra area, they do produce a lot of footwear that are almost of international standard. But what we want to do is, how do you marry Nigeria with China, do a sector mapping, using these opportunities that this has created to use the technology coming from light manufacturing technology in China to our businesses in Nigeria so that we produce things that are of high quality. And also, we believe that complementarily, China has a huge market. Not only the internal market, but by extension, the ASEAN market is a big market that when we make ourselves available as a manufacturing hub, we can easily offload into the ASEAN market. And that's what I see as a big opportunity for us.
The Naira-Yuan currency swap is a significant initiative. How do you expect it will enhance bilateral trade and investment?
The Naira-Yuan swap is a very creative initiative. We've had it for a couple of years, about 5-6 years. It was just renewed this year with a $2 billion line. It's been a very effective means of improving liquidity in transactions across country. It also enhances cross-border transactions between Nigeria and China. And if you do understand it from an economics monetary policy point of view, you will see that what typically happens today for most transactions is that a typical Nigerian businessman or woman takes Naira and buys dollars and then comes to China, change dollars to yuan. Vice versa for the typical Chinese businessman. What this does for us, it allows us to circumvent the dollar element. So it strengthens the economy for China and so for Nigeria. It improves liquidity between the two countries and businesses across the two countries. It also eases pressure on your FX rate, yuan, dollar, Nigerian dollar exchange rate. It's a big opportunity that we see. It's something we want to expand that line. Beyond that, there are new initiatives that we're putting on the table. We're in serious discussion with Chinese commercial banks to have presence in Nigeria, and also one or two big Nigerian banks to have presence, rep office, presence in China. That complements, which is doing great for us now. But by the time we complement with that, what it means is I can go into Bank of China and deposit in Nigeria, deposit 100 million naira and easily take my money in yuan. It protects the two countries' currencies and it gives liquidity. So that complements the swap line that we're looking at currently. But we're doing well with that, and it's enhancing our business transactions.
So what practical steps can both sides take to improve trade, logistics, infrastructure, and resilience, especially in the face of global supply chain disruptions and external affairs?
What do we need to get right in Africa? I think one of the challenges we have, it's also been that we need to be deliberate about our logistic systems. We need to build resilience into them. Some of the things we do today, we don't have central platform that monitor some of the things we do. If you order something from Amazon today, Amazon will tell you, you can know where your shipment is at what particular point in time. And when you have delay, you can easily ask Amazon to say, hey, where's my product? And he can tell you, oh, your product is in between Ghana and Nigeria. We're trying to resolve the issue. The same thing with Temu today, which has become very popular in Nigeria. And I'll tell you the two reasons why Temu is very popular in Nigeria, because it also offers an alternative platform to Amazon. But the other thing is that people can actually, if you want to buy something on Amazon today in Nigeria, you have to use dollar card or pay in dollars. But with Temu, we'll pay in Naira. So it makes convertibility and ease of transaction easy. Specifically, what do we need to do with our logistics is to enhance our free trade zones, enhance an industrial park. We're trying to build an industrial park with the assistance of Chinese companies. How do we ensure those things are of high quality and sustainable so that it's easy, storage is good, and then creating that digital platform that can actually ensure that people have what I would call some comfort in tracking their items and goods. Later on in the year, there's going to be also a seminar between Chinese companies and Nigerian companies in Beijing, focused on marine and maritime activities. So we're looking at talking to shipyard, talking to shipping companies and also logistics companies in China to see how we can do mapping and collaboration better, a partnership better in Nigeria. I think if we get this right, it will make things a lot more better between the two countries. And our logistics resilience will be built over time.
How does participation in this expo help Nigeria diversify its trade partners?
Like I said earlier on, the trade war has actually made it clear to everybody in the world that the era of traditional partnership is over. It calls for diversification today. And I'm sure that is why the resilience that China has built into their trade business over time, and that's why they're surviving these challenges. Those who have done traditional one-way partnership are the ones actually taking the short end of the stick today. Do I want to get my product into high tariff region or do I want to get my product into a less tariff region? So it offers up also opportunity as Nigeria to diversify. At this expo, opportunity is to see, look, what can we do with China and Asian countries? You know, this is a China-Africa Expo. Also, what can we do with other African countries so that we diversify our portfolio in terms of products we're exporting, also in terms of trade partnership, and also shift our trade partnership from being transactional to being developed in nature. The most important thing is stop exporting core raw materials. Add value to it before you export them. Where you're exporting it to, let them add value to it. So I think the lesson for me and the lesson for us in Nigeria, it's diversification. And you must have diversity strategy in your trading relationship.
Under the FOC framework, China and Nigeria have advanced key cooperation projects. In which sectors do you see the most potential for deeper collaboration in the next phase?
That's an important question for me because part of my responsibility of Nigeria and China Strategic Partnership Office is, aside from coordinating, monitoring, and ensuring Nigeria speaks with one voice, one of the things is also to ensure that the projects that we sign on, and we thank China for those opportunities because it's one thing to give somebody technology, it's another thing to say, look, I'll give you funding to it. So with the 15%, 20% funding, China, Nigeria, counterpart funding, it's been very effective. I give the kudos to FOCAC. I give the kudos to the president of both countries, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and President Xi Jinping. However, I believe that we're at a point where we need to start to look at more things that are more developmental. Most of the things we have, focal projects we have, are either construction or rail construction, road construction, port construction. We need those infrastructure, and we're doing well. And the Chinese companies like China Harbour, CCCC, which is China Communication Construction Company, CCECC, CNECC. Some of those companies are doing extremely well in Nigeria, and we appreciate their efforts in Nigeria. We have relationship with most of these guys, but we want to shift to developmental relationship. And what am I talking about? Most of those relationships in the past have been government-to-government relationship. But what you find out, and why China, the rest of them have been, the economy has built resilience, is that you must have private sector involvement for sustainability. So we're trying to introduce a third leg or fourth leg into those kind of transactions. So I'm dealing with China, Nigerian government, but I have private sector involvement from Nigeria, private sector involvement from China. So that when you finish building a rail, who manages it? Who operates it? Government should not be in business of doing business. So get a private sector to operate it effectively. If I do mechanized poultry, integrated mechanized poultry, yes, we can set it up with an SOE from China. CCCC has given us commitment to support us on that. But then at the end of the day, who manages that poultry? Who sustains it? So what I'm basically saying is that FOCAC shift will be towards developmental things, agri, I mentioned automobile, how we collaborate between the two countries on EV vehicles. And I think the last one, beyond agriculture, it's mining, solid minerals. We're not looking at exporting raw lithium or anything out of Nigeria. It has to be refined. And also, we're actually encouraging companies from China to come and establish in Nigeria. So again, FOCAC has been successful. FOCAC is doing well. We are getting our act together internally in Nigeria to ensure that we have one central repository to monitor the progress of all the FOCAC projects, which my office is doing. We know what project is having issues, and we're bringing it to the attention of the president. And immediately, president gives me a directive, we resolve it with the companies. So I think largely we're on top of that. They are heavily focused on infrastructure, they're heavily focused on culture cooperation, we're heavily focused on education and the rest of them. But again, now we need to start to focus on agri and industrialization.
China's rise to the world's second largest economy was achieved through various measures such as long-term planning, industrial reforms, and domestic market development. What lessons do you think Nigeria can draw from this experience?
Thank you. It's one of the things, anybody I come to China is one of the things that strikes me. I've had meetings at the highest level, at meetings with National Development and Reform Commission. I've had meetings with the Foreign Affairs, Commerce, and the rest of them. And I see that about 2-3 things has made China what it is today. The first one is strategic long-term planning based on leadership vision. That is one. 2, it's also what I call very strategic and disciplined execution. And 3 is alignment of those projects to their vision and government national priorities. Those 3 things have made China what China is today. For us in Africa, and Nigeria specifically, we're trying to emulate that. That's why I told you we're looking at cultivating 100,000 hectares for soybeans. It's massive. How many countries have that kind of arable land? I talked about the poultry project. So we're trying to emulate China. The current president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, it's extremely bullish at reindustrializing Nigeria. And that's why our focus is, let's emulate what China has done, what America has done, to get them to where they are today. The other thing, which is I would say, fourth leg to is scale. Nobody does things at piecemeal phase and achieve any major success. You see, when China wants to do something, they are very bullish about it. China wants to do fast train, they want to do the best. When China says they are building out roads, they are building hundreds of thousands of kilometers at the same time. And that's why we're emulating in Nigeria. Today, President of Nigeria, one of his flagship projects is Lagos-Calabar, which is about 873 kilometers of road. Concrete road with rail in between for that speed. Connecting that is another Sokoto-Badagry road. So we have road that actually runs across the country. And then we have rails that actually links across the country. And interestingly, Chinese companies are the ones that have been awarded the contract to do most of those rail and some of those things. So, like I said, long-term vision and planning. The second one I said is also very bullish execution. I talked about the issue about scale, and I think that's the kind of things we are going to emulate from China.
Over the course of your tenure as Director General and your recent visits to China, I know you've been to China several times. What personal observations or experiences have left the strongest impressions on you about China's development and Nigeria-China ties?
Thank you. Very interesting question for me, because first time I came to China was 2002, 23 years ago, and I came as a KPMG senior partner on a conference. At that time, I marveled at the Grand Hyatt. I stayed there, and I think I stayed on the 80-something floor. And I was wondering at that time, what pushes somebody to, when I opened my blinds, I was in the cloud. That was before the advent of Burj Khalifa and Burj Al Arab in Dubai. So I think China continues to marvel me. Every time I get thrilled with China's rate of advancement in terms of technology and in terms of very bold and audacious projects. Bullet train that goes about 400 kilometers per hour. The kind of things that China is doing continues to marvel me. And every time I come, it's like I see new things. And I think for me, it's a lesson that Africa and Nigeria needs to learn that, look, sometimes nothing is difficult to do. Be bullish about it. Be bold and audacious of what you want to do. I've been to China now at least 20 times in my lifetime. And it's a different ballgame when you go to Beijing, you go to Shanghai, it's different feel. You go to Shenzhen, different feel. Guangzhou, different feel. I was shocked when I was in Chengdu recently. The level of advancement I saw there. Skyscrapers are built as if it's a plantation, you understand? And now I read that China recently completed a 20-story building in less than 48 hours. Prefab. As a civil engineer, you marvel at the kind of technology that is doing. That leaves a lasting impression in me. And that lasting impression for me still ties to the former question. My response to the former question, China continues to be bullish about the execution, aligning the execution to national priorities, and tied that to their long-term vision. And then underpinning that is scale. That marvels me, the discipline at which that is done. And I guess if we emulate that in Africa and Nigeria, we're going to go places. China is one of our major partners today. I believe there's a lot of things to tap into, having China as a strategic partner.
Director General Tegbe, they say heavy is the head that wears the crown. You have a huge responsibility.
I believe we can do it. And with the kind of president I have, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the support he has given me and given my office, I believe we will achieve those things. Nigeria is no longer the Nigerian of yesteryears. But thanks to my Chinese partners, sky is the beginning. Thank you very much.
Listeners, you can subscribe to our online newsletter on CGTN or Substack to get more insights on China-Africa relations. Just search China-Africa Talk. For now, it's goodbye. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post it on social media or leave a rating and review. Thanks again. See you next time.